These are the notes for 6.2, Systems of Linear Equations Using Augmented Matrices. So one object is a matrix, more than one is matrices for the plural. So a matrix is an array of numbers and or letters with brackets at the beginning and end of the array. So that end of the array. So that we know something is a matrix and not just a regular number or a point or something else, we're going to be using square brackets. The size, dimension, or order, so all of those are different terms you might see depending on the author of the question, the textbook that is being referred to, or the situation that mean the same thing. M with what looks like an X and then an N, where M is the number of rows and N is the number of columns, and the X that's between them is not for multiplication, it's not the variable X, it's what we read in English of, say the word by, like a 2x4 piece of wood that you would buy to construct some project, or the size of a rectangle is 3 feet by 4 feet. The symbol we use for that is an X. So this is, M by N. Grabbed the wrong eraser. For M rows and N columns. Rows are the horizontal lines of numbers and or letters. Columns are the vertical lines of numbers and or letters. If it helps you to remember, it's not as popular now as it used to be, but there is, besides Coca-Cola and Pepsi, there is another soda that's RC Cola. R for row, C for column. Helps us in this situation remember rows go first and columns go second, if you can remember RC Cola. The order of a matrix is always a number for the rows. Trying to do the right color and the right word. Rows, then X for by, and then columns. An element of the matrix A is a number or letter in the matrix at a specific address. Elements are identified by where they live in the matrix. What is their row? What is their column? Remember, RC Cola, row goes first, column goes second. So if I asked you to find lowercase a, so capital A will be the entire matrix, and the lowercase of that letter will be an element in the matrix. The subscript after that lowercase letter will give you the address. And remember, row goes first, column goes second. So it's the second row and the third column if it's a subscript 2, 3. So it's not 23, even though you could read it that way, but it's the 2 that's the row and the 3 that's the column in that matrix A. So example 1, here we are given a matrix A, 5, -2, 9 in the first row, -3, 6, -8 in the second row, and so on. Part A is asking what is the order. That's the size or the dimension. So this has 4 rows and it has 3 columns. So this matrix A has order, size, or dimension 4 by 3. Part B is asking to find the elements that live at certain addresses. So lowercase a with a subscript 1, 2 means the first row and the second column. So this is our first row, and in the second column we have a -2. So lowercase a with a subscript 1, 2, and this matrix means -2. For the next one, lowercase a 3, 1, means now we're looking at the third row and the first column, which is a +1. And the last one of these, 4, 3, means the fourth row and the third column. So the fourth row is that row, and the third column has a 12 in it. So now that you know what a matrix is, how to describe its size, how to describe a certain element in a certain position or address in the matrix, or how do these relate to the systems that you were solving in 6.1? Well, you can use matrices, specifically augmented matrices, to solve a linear system of equations. Sometimes it's written with a vertical bar when it's handwritten or typed, but in Desmos or calculator or other technology like your online assignment, MyOpenMath, that vertical line does not usually get written anymore. The coefficients of each variable are placed to the left of the vertical line if the vertical line is drawn, and the constants are placed to the right. You'll see what that means in just a second. If any variable is missing, its coefficient is 0. So 2a, write the augmented matrix for the system of the linear equation. So this system is something you could have been asked to solve in 6.1, but now we're writing the augmented matrix for it. So a matrix needs a square bracket, and it's going to take a little practice, you knowing how big you need to write the square bracket depending on how many rows and columns you have. And then you start with the first equation and you write down the coefficients. So this x has a 1 in front of it, the y has a -2 in front of it, and leave some space. We don't write the variables, just the numbers. The equal sign, we don't write that either. And the constant 2 does get written. So the coefficients of each variable are the 1 and the -2 in this first equation, and then the constants are last, the +2 in this equation. Doing the same thing for the second equation. We have a 2 in front of the x, a 3 in front of the y, then the equal sign, and an 11. So that is the augmented matrix for that system. The x's and the y's and the equal signs must be in order. It has to be x first, it has to be y second, then it has to have the equal sign. If the system is not given to you in that order, you need to put it in that order before you change it to the augmented matrix, or the augmented matrix will not be right. The vertical line that they were describing in those words, if it gets written, would go there, where the equal sign would go. So you have all the coefficients of the x's and y's on the left of that vertical line, the constants 2 and 11 in this problem to the right of that line, again, if that gets written. 2b is asking you to write the system of linear equations represented by the augmented matrix. Use x, y, and z for the variables. We are not going to need z for this problem. Another problem with more numbers might be needed, but we only have 3 columns. The first column is going to be the x, the second column is going to be the y, and the last column has to be the constants. So I don't have enough columns to use the variable y. The first row, put a 2 in front of the x, +1 in front of the y, then you put an equal sign before the last number because the last number has to be the constant. And then the second row, 3 goes in front of the x, +2 goes in front of the y, equals before the last number, in this case 7. So I'm going to stop this video here.